Good morning, beautiful souls. How are you today? I hope you're well. It's suddenly really warm again. Ooh, Scorchio. So I haven't actually done any gardening in, it's a week. 1 week and 2 days, I think. Oh my goodness. I've been down here a couple of times to water, trying not to overwater, just sort of once a week a really good soak for the established things. And then things in pots, seed beds, what have you, they're sort of like 2 or 3 times a week. But, sorry, excuse me, as for doing any gardening, no, I haven't done any for, yeah, it's 9 days. And I suddenly, I've got myriad scraps of paper. This one, that was my list last month. I suddenly feel like I've got loads of little jobs to do. It's funny that, isn't it? Because I think in the summer, or at least I tend to think, you know, the garden is established, it's doing its own thing, I can walk away from it, leave it to its own devices much more. And that's certainly true. But I think what happens in the summer is, because I do that, I maybe come for a once a week gardening session, apart from, like I say, those evenings of watering. So it always feels like suddenly there's loads to do. Whereas in the spring, there is loads to do. There's way more to do in the spring than in the summer. But of course my visits are much more frequent, sometimes daily even. And with that as well, with those kind of much more frequent visits, one doesn't see the changes quite so much. Just arriving now, walking past my tomatoes, oh my goodness, they need pruning again, they need a bit of a sort out. Some of them have grown past their stakes. I just don't have any long sticks, and that's an issue for another plant in the garden, which hopefully I can get onto and see to. Who's that? Lost my train of thought, saw a neighbour. Yes, so there's lots to do today, lots of little bits and pieces to get on with. But first of all, I just want to catch up with my post bag to say thank you so much. This beautiful card from Nancy, thank you. And Nancy also sent me the most gorgeous fabric. Now, if you saw my Try It Yourself, Make, Do and Mend video, you'll have seen the lavender fabric she sent me. But with this card came some beautiful little buzzy bee fabric. So I think I'm probably going to make some wax wraps for my kitchen with some of that, just to renew my other wax wraps. And probably a couple of little face masks. I think it'd be really cute. So thank you, Nancy. Joanne sent me this gorgeous, I do love my foxes. You know, they can cause a bit of damage in the garden, there's no doubt about it, but not too much. And you know, look, they're such beautiful creatures, aren't they? And I think my attitude in the garden is just learn to live with them. You know, the mice destroy, oh my goodness, the mice did a proper job with the broad beans, didn't they? But they're here, they're here, I'm here. So let me see if I can do things in a way where the animals can't destroy what I'm trying to do for myself, but at the same time I don't destroy their little lives either. But Joanne also popped in her card, isn't that beautiful? See it? A photograph of an iris from her garden. Absolutely gorgeous. Thank you so much. I do love getting my little cards, so I'm gonna have to rearrange the old pin board, take some of the older ones off and put some of the newer ones on. But not only that, but also, what TV show was that from? Not only, but also, doesn't matter. It'll come to me in about 10 days' time. The wonderful Roshni, and then the wonderful Cara of licorice and peppermint tea fame. I'm sure I can still taste that. Have sent me some fennel seeds. Yay! So, do you know what? I need to blow my nose. Give me a second. That's better. Yes, both Roshni and Cara have sent me some fennel seeds, which is fab. And I've just about got time to sow some more. Cheerio, Rusty. So that's what I'll do. Now, I'm going to try a couple of different things, because the definition of stupid is to keep doing the same thing over and over again, but expect different results. So, I'm going to sow some of them out in the garden, but I'm going to give them, hopefully, a bit of protection. Show that one go like. And I'm going to sow some of them in this module tray. This was the second module tray that Richard and Paul gave me for my birthday. The other one is, the modules are bigger, and they're the ones with the brassicas in on the deck. Brassica's a whole nother story. Now, the thing with fennel is, supposedly, it absolutely hates to be transplanted. So I've never tried it. What's the point? You know, it's like carrots and parsnips. They don't like being transplanted. I did try it once with parsnips, and I transplanted all my thinnings. Absolutely hideous parsnips from them. So yeah, I learned by you know, having a practical experience of it. Now with the fennel, maybe it's true. Maybe they really do hate being transplanted. But I've got enough seed here to have a go, both direct and in the module tray, and still have some seed left over for next year. So I might as well give it a go, in for a penny, in for a pound, and then, you know, if it's a myth that they hate being transplanted, well, let's bust that myth. And if it's true, well, had to give it a go, eh? So that's happening today. Oh, the Brassica massacre. All my brassicas, all the lovely sort of thinnings and prickings, and all of those brassicas that I potted on, some from friends and neighbours on the site, and a few of mine that did germinate, crikey, hardly any. Potted them on, had them sitting in trays between the 2 rows of main crop potatoes, just to give them a little bit of shade. I don't want them to go mad at this stage in their pots. And then around about the end of July, beginning of August, when the onions come out, I would then be planting them. Now, I've done it that way for years, and it's never been an issue. However, this year, and again, I think it's the neighbouring plot, because it's just such a jungle in there, it's perfect habitat. I've seen of an evening the snails coming across my path from that garden. What I hadn't realised was, whilst they were all down there amongst the spuds, they've been massacred by the snails. They've had so much of their foliage eaten. What I'm hoping is that there's just enough of each plant left that they might come back. I hope so. I'm a bit worried about the winter garden in all honesty, because 3 sowings of carrots, not a single carrot. The brassicas are looking dreadful. You know, if it's going that way into the winter, I'll just have to be mindful and think to myself, whatever I'm harvesting in the summer and the autumn, that's going to have to make... I mean, I always use those things over the winter and spring anyway, but I'll just have to bear in mind that there won't be the supplements of carrots and brassicas to go with them. So I may even be sowing some more brassicas today. I'm not sure. Let's have a look at the list. I've put it down as a possibility. One of the other possibilities is that, for example, the brassicas from Paul are looking healthy and fine still, but they're just in those little modules. They could really do with being planted. So I'm thinking with the carrot bed, because there's nothing in it, that at least get Paul's beautiful little plants in and get them going before the onions come out, because that's the other thing, and I mentioned this right back at the beginning of the season, because my onions have gone in later this year. Everything is late in my garden this year. Because they've gone in later, I'll be taking them out later, which means the brassicas will go in later too. You know, I think the onion harvest this year is going to be well into August. Yeah, I think that's what I'm going to do with Paul's plants, is at least some of them, get them planted up in that carrot bed. And you know what, if a carrot decides to germinate later in the year in that bed, I'll just have carrots under my cabbages. Right, okay, what's the first job? The first job is probably actually go and get on with my tomato cares. They've gone rampant. And by the same token, the cucumber cares, get those tied in, and squash. Ah, that's the other thing. So I've got a squash in the top bed, the cream of the crop. I was getting it confused with Carnival, it's that C. And I've planted them to grow as clump forming bush types. They're not, they're trailing. So they're all over the place with no TP. Whereas on the TP behind them, I've got the yellow scallop, I think it is. And they are forming clumps. Now at this stage, it's way too late for me to get that TP out and move it, because I'll just be disturbing roots left, right and centre. I don't know what I've got by the way of long sticks, really don't have much left, but I'm going to see if I can get the trailing ones going up and supported a bit, just because apart from anything, they're actually going onto that central path, and what I don't want is for someone to come along and mow that path. I don't think they will, because the grass isn't growing past, but I don't want someone to mow my lead trail bit and my little baby pumpkins off. Lots to do. Chop chop. Crikey, it's bright today. Right, so fennel first. Now I'll be honest with you, I've got to the point. Whoopla. Oh, where are they coming out of? Oh, there's a hole there. Ah. Well, I've just sowed about 79 in here. Let's try and spread them out a bit. Yeah, I've got to the point in the year, this sometimes happens, where I'm a bit fed up with this lark, this sowing lark. You know, it is quite despondent making when repeat sowings and still getting nothing. And I don't want to put that on myself, that level of sort of disappointment and despondency. So this is the last attempt with these kind of things. Now obviously, like, as the whole spring has gone on and things haven't worked, I try not to be despondent, and I can't afford to be, really, because, you know, as I'm always saying, this is my food. I can't just give up and go, oh well. So I do try to keep trying, but also there comes a point of saying, you know what, this is just not working for me this year. Right, I've got a double-ended opening packet there. Yeah, there comes a point, what am I trying to say? It's just, I don't need the heartache, and I don't need the hassle. Tiny sprinkling. So I've dropped quite a few in each cell, and then what I'll do is if multiple ones come up, I will look for the best one, the strongest one, and then I'll just snip the others out. I won't pull them out. I don't want to disturb the roots if I can help it, knowing that they hate to have their roots disturbed, blah blah blah. But what I'm hoping is, because of the design of these modules, they've got a really nice, quite big hole in the bottom for, you know, shoving your thumb or finger up to pop your little plugs out. We'll see. I will stay hopeful for a couple of weeks and after that I'll just give up hope on the fennel anyway. Yeah, so if like me, you've got something in the garden that's just not working this year, be brave enough to say, you know what, it's just not the year for it. Every year there's something. There's always something that's a bit naughty, that gives you a bit of hassle. I think one of the reasons I'm not too bothered about the fennel. I mean, oh, look at that massive woodlouse. Sorry, amazing creatures. Look at you little modern day trilobite. Fascinating. Oh, and there's another one. Hello. Where have you two come from? Yes, I'm not too bothered about the fennel. I hope I can get some. But it's one of my it's one of my luxury veg rather than one of my staples. I think the reason I have been so bothered with the others, the carrots and the brassicas in general, is because they really are an important part of my winter diet. They are a couple of the only fresh things I get all through winter. So, yes, I'm disappointed. Yes, I'm disheartened. Yes, I'm ticked off. But after today, let it go. Let it go, let it go. You know, when Elsa sang that, she was actually singing about vegetables that don't grow, don't you? Right, so with the brassicas, I've got out there already planted. I've got that little handful of cauliflower from Catherine and some curly kale. Some of those have been mashed as well. I've got, from Paul, I've got purple sprouting and cavollo nero. Cavollo nero, actually purple sprouting and cavollo nero are my two absolute go-tos that I really want. I wasn't going to do any more cavollo today, but I think I will. Otherwise, I'm just going to chuck a load of broccoli in here, as in calabrese, because I really enjoy my broccoli. And broccoli, normally, obviously, I get the broccoli through the winter before the purple sprouting comes in the spring. Oh, just chuck it in, Vivi, chuck it in. Now, what I'm thinking / hoping is that we're at the end of July. We've got enough warmth and light to get these going. For the last few years, as long as I can remember really, we've been really quite mild right up until into November. Last year it was about mid-November when all the rain, the lashing rain and wind started. But all through sort of September, October, we have these lovely, warm, beautiful days with quite a lot of sunshine hours still. So I'm hoping that that will be enough to let all these things get going now. And, you know, who knows, maybe these ones I'm sowing today, maybe, just maybe, they will be big enough for me to plant out towards the end of August when all the onions have come out. Yeah, so I think that's going to be about 5 weeks away. Can these grow in the space of 5 weeks? Yeah, that's it. It's the Brassica massacre last ditch attempt today. After this, like I say, I'm just, it's not that, oh, it's my phone, it's not that I'm giving up, it's that I'm just not going to spend any more mental or physical energy on them. That's it. I've got lots of other things to be getting on with in life. Okay, yeah, I'm going to do those last two with cavollo nero, and then let's go and do this direct sowing with this slightly different thing that will hopefully stop any of those that come up from being massacred by the slugs. Okay, so that's another row of fennel direct sown. Now, as you've seen from the previous videos, germination was not the issue. I had beautiful, wonderful germination, but literally overnight the whole lot was wiped out by slugs. So I'm going to try using this today. It's not a slug killer, it's a slug barrier. I bought it a couple of years ago. Actually, I forgot I had it, but yeah, I bought it a couple of years ago when my beans, actually it was beans in pots on the deck, were being massacred, and I went to my local garden centre looking for something organic, and this was literally the only thing they had that wasn't nasty chemicals. So this is, it's wildlife friendly. I mean, it's not exactly a friend to wildlife, but what I mean is it's not going to poison the wildlife, not going to harm the bees. It sort of looks like cat litter. It's not a very clever design, the box. It kind of needs more of a pouring spout. So the idea with it is, I think it's rather like And I'm just trying to think back to when the things were on the deck. I'm not sure that it works, but I don't think I used it properly in terms of making a complete ring of a barrier. But let's see if I can show it to you. Can you see that? It sort of looks like cat litter. So the idea is, it's really hard to pour. I'm going to do it as a, hopefully as a barrier around the whole area I've just sewn. And we'll see if it works. Let me show you a bit more closely how it looks, because it is an odd thing. Like I said, I think it's rather like you would use, say, eggshells. Now the thing for me is I don't eat eggs, so I don't have eggshells. And in the past folk have said, oh, why don't you ask your friends to save their eggshells for you? The thing is, the vast majority of my friends, pretty much all my friends, grow their own veg. So if I said to them, can I have your eggshells? They'll say, no, not on your Nelly, you can't. I'm having them myself. Right, let me show you how this looks, because it's a bit odd. I don't really know how thickly to put it on, but what I'm just going to do to begin with is just make sure it's all the way around, and then if I've got more, just add it in a bit. So what I mean by it looks like kitty litter. I didn't know how it would react to being wet either, so I've thoroughly watered this sewing already. Gosh, it is weird. Is it going to work? There's a bit left, so I think what I'll do is I'll save that for hopefully if these lovely little seedlings come up, because I don't know how this stuff, let me show it to you close. I don't know how much this is going to disintegrate when I'm watering, or if we get a load of rain. So I'll keep the rest of it for when, like I said, hopefully they come up. But that's what it is. What's it called? Slug Defence Barrier Granules. Oh, it says rain resistant, long lasting. Okay, so, well, fingers crossed, third lot of fennels. Okay, let's move our attention to the brassicas now. Hello, handsome. Are you enjoying a little shady retreat? Okay, just before I take you down the garden to talk about brassicas, I forgot, of course, to give a little bit of an update on the Taunton Dean cuttings and honeysuckle cuttings. So I've got the 4 larger ones there of the Taunton Dean, and then 4 smaller ones here. Now, they may look a little bit sorry for themselves at the moment on first appearances, but actually, if you look at them individually, okay, yes, this leaf is dying back. I did cut quite a bit of the leaves off to stop that sort of evaporation of water. But when you look in the centre of each one, they're looking really, really strong and healthy, and there's new growth coming. That's fab. Likewise, all these little ones. Let me show you here. You see, okay, that leaf is dying back, but right here in the centre, oh, can you make that out? Yeah, nice new growth. So I'm going to keep optimistic about these babies and think to myself, well, if all my other brassicas fail, maybe I'll end up with just a big field of Taunton Deans. The honeysuckle cuttings, well, it's kind of as I thought. Some are looking better than others. This one was a bit of a scrappy one anyway, and it had a few too many flowers on it. That's not looking great. But I only want 1 or 2, so yeah, fingers crossed for all these little cuttings. Perfect spot for them here. They get enough light, but it's dappled light so they don't roast. And yeah, fingers firmly crossed. Right, let me show you a sight that isn't quite so pretty. Well, my deck is definitely not looking its summer best, as it has in previous years. I was mentioning the other day about I haven't got my bunting out. My deck chair hasn't been here because it's been a bit busy. Yeah, it's looking a bit sad and sorry for itself. You'll have seen now the St John's wort is gone. I'm going to have that one tipped out. But never mind all the mess and the not prettiness. And you see now that the Taunton Dean's gone from there, suddenly it's just this sort of grey area. Yes, I shall be doing something about that. But, oh my goodness. Right, shadows are going to be a massive issue. It's that time of day. But look at the state of this lot. Absolutely. Oh, they've just been shredded. But, there is still life. So, for example, let's look back here. There is life in them. Just. This is some of the Cavolo. This isn't the stuff from Paul, by the way. Yeah. So look at this one. It's pathetic. But right there, can we see? Can we make it out? Right there in the middle, it's trying to grow. So, put it this way. They aren't dead, but they just look utterly awful and pathetic. So I'm thinking I am going to try and get some of these in the ground somewhere today. I just think, I don't know, when they're in their pots, are they more vulnerable to the slugs and snails? I don't know. So that's the stuff on the deck. This is all Cavolo, and this little tray I'm going to plant in a minute with, come for a walk, follow me. Oh, hello garden. The non-carrot bed. So I reckon in here I can get 2 rows of about 6 or 7, because they grow so sort of tall and slim, you can really pack them in. So in that tray on the deck, I think there's about 7 or 8 that look okay. They can come in, and then just here I've got my lovely tray from Paul, and on the right are the Cavolo, on the left are the purple sprouting. So I'm going to at least get the Cavolo out of there today and into the not carrot bed. Yay! And then, let me just show you up here. Are you going to lead the way, buddy? Yeah, we don't want to see your manhood. Let's just pan up a bit. This is where I put the cauliflowers and curly kale after I took my broad beans out. Can you make out through the nets? See, down this end. Oh, looking lovely. Lovely. And then we get to this end, and let me lift up so you can see. It's like, oh my goodness, massacred. But again, there is a tiny bit of life in there. So, I might stick another one in next to it. I've got a couple more curly kales. And then what I think I need to do, apart from pull the bits of grass out, I haven't used any beer traps at all this year. I just wanted to see if the garden could cope without. This end has coped without, that end hasn't. So I think I'm going to replant here, whack a beer trap under the lily, which, by the way, God, look at that. Isn't that magnificent? I have to take out these little stamens and polleny bits today. You can see where I've done it on the first ones that opened. I take those bits out because, well, lilies are poisonous to cats. Now it's not like they're going to come along and chew the branches, chew the stems, I mean, but this stuff can fall out and onto the ground, and the last thing I want is for one of the kitties to groom itself, having walked through some polleny bits, and get it on their top. Oh, it's so lovely. And more buds to come. Yes. Happy sight. Right, enough of that, Vivi. Get on with your Brassica massacre. Whew, wow, it's getting hot out there. So I'm really, really pleased to have got that little handful of brassicas into the knocked carrot bed. But also, whilst I was in there, where I've been saving that calendula to go to seed, because I think it's the one that Paul was interested in seed from, just sort of on the north side, so into the bed, there are a few tiny little carrot seedlings coming up. So I haven't put a cavallo nero there. And what it's making me think is, maybe that little bit of shade from the calendula has helped. Obviously this year we've been dry and hot way more than usual, so it's making me think to next year that when I sow the carrots, maybe instead of covering them with the Enviromesh initially, I should cover them with shade netting. Might be worth thinking about. Anyway, really glad those bits and pieces are in. The rest of my morning session, well, that's the clue. It's my tomato cares kit. So I'm going to go and do my tomato cares, my cucumber cares and my squash cares, tying in, snipping out, what have you, which will probably take the best part of 2 hours. It's not a job to hurry. Then I'm going to have a little bit of lunch. I've brought lunch today, because then this afternoon I've got a big, big job to do, which I've been putting off, frankly, because I'm always too busy having so much fun in the garden. I think, oh, I'll do it another day. So yes, my afternoon session is mapped out already. I'll think about that when I get there. That will be for another video. So for now, my lovelies, thank you for coming along and joining me in the garden this morning on this very warm, actually I'm going to call it hot today, day. Thank you. It's always a pleasure to have your company with me here. So until the next time, please look after yourselves, look after each other, look after your tomatoes and your squash, because if they're anything like mine, they're going a bit mad. Until the next one, bye for now.